Marisha here, and I just celebrated my 2 year anniversary of living in the UK. So I thought I'd share some of my reflections on that. My 2 year anniversary is more meaningful to me than my 1 year, and not just because it means I've been here twice as long, but first of all, it means that I sort of graduated, well, literally, from my student visa to a graduate visa. Now, my first year here, I spent in kind of a sense of urgency because I recognized that while chances were really good that I would get approved for a graduate visa, it wasn't a 100% guarantee. You never know when a government might change what visas it offers. In fact, since being here, I've read in the paper that there is a faction who wants to get rid of the graduate visa. Um, or they might change, how many people they're going to award the visa to. So I really did try to live my first year as though I might very well have to go home at the end of that year. And so the fact that I'm celebrating 2 years is great because it means that I was approved for a graduate visa and I have gone from just being a student to being someone who is living and working in the country and has moved to like the next phase of what I hope will be a continuing process toward ultimately dual citizenship. But that's several years down the road. The other reason why my 2 year anniversary is pretty significant is I previously lived abroad in Turkmenistan as a Peace Corps volunteer, and I spent just shy of 2 years there. It was maybe 2 weeks shy of 2 years there. So hitting 2 years here means that I've lived in the UK longer than I lived in Turkmenistan. And I've always viewed Turkmenistan as like my second home because I had lived there and because my experience there was such a core part of who I am. It was a very challenging experience and very character building experience, but ultimately rewarding and something that I'm really proud of. And if anybody meets me and they, know me for more than a day, then they will hear about how I was in Turkmenistan. But um, so I've now officially been in the UK longer, and it makes a lot of sense to compare the two experiences because now they're on equal footing in terms of how long I've spent in each country. Spending 1 year in the UK, it wasn't really a fair comparison. 2 years, it is. And in looking at my experiences with both countries, it should come as no surprise that I do view my Peace Corps experience as a crucible that helped refine me and really helped build who I am and influenced my worldview, etc. But I would say that I view my experience in the UK the same way. And the difference is like the types of obstacles that I've faced in each place. It's really obvious, I think, to to see kind of the obstacles that someone would face by living in a country like Turkmenistan when it is so very, very different culturally, right? It's a different political system. You're talking about a dictatorship and you're talking about a country that is um, largely Muslim, but really more like a secular Muslim because they're part of the former Soviet Socialist Republic, and there's a lot of influence in that way. And also under the dictatorship, like religious observances tend to be sort of like squashed down. And there's a very different view of kind of gender roles. And then, of course, even the geography is different, right? It's a largely desert area. The language very, very different. Americans and Brits not really used to learning Turkic languages, right? In America, if you're going to learn a second language, generally speaking, it's going to be Spanish, and in the UK, I think generally speaking, it's French. You might do the other one, right? Or you might do German, some other sort of European language that is similar enough to English that it's relatively easy to learn. But Turkmen, very different. So you have all of these very obvious on the surface things that are going to be challenges. You're also talking realistically. I'm gonna get keep it 100 here, you're also talking about experiences with like food poisoning, with, having to poop in a hole in the ground because you don't have like a flush toilet everywhere that you go, um, things like that. During training, we were taught what to do if we were approached by a rabid dog. So these are things that, I think for the majority of US and UK audiences, they could look at as obvious sort of challenges to living in Turkmenistan. What I think is probably less obvious are the challenges to living in the UK if you're a US citizen. And those include the fact that I had to do all of this on my own. So even though there were all of those challenges in the Peace Corps, I also had Peace Corps to take care of some things for me. So Peace Corps took care of my visa and took care of setting up a bank account for me and making sure that I had my monthly stipend deposited there so that I could pay my host family rent and I could buy groceries and things like that. Peace Corps had a medical officer and had all these systems in place to like take care of volunteers. I also entered the country with a group of volunteers, so I had a built-in sort of social network already of other Americans who are coming there with me. And so when we are running up against these things, we have someone that we can talk to who understands why it is difficult for us to, live in certain ways or whatever, because it's foreign to us, and we sort of have built-in friendships almost from the very beginning. Came over here, I had to take care of everything, right? I had to do all of the research to find a school that was right and do my applications for that. And then I had to figure out how to, how to do all the finances and how to fill out all the visa paperwork and, navigate the healthcare system and, build my own social network of people who, while they are great people and friends, like none of them are Americans. Like I didn't come over here with a husband or children or colleagues who were all being transferred to this office or whatever, where I could, commiserate about the lack of ranch dressing over here, right? Um, so that is sort of like a separate set of challenges that maybe aren't as obvious. And I will say that many of the challenges are also just, when you're an immigrant, it doesn't matter where you're from and where you're immigrating to, like you're going to run up against some stuff. So I do view the UK experience also as a type of crucible that has been refining and that has, I think, improved my resilience and my grit, and reflecting over the last 2 years and some of the things that I've already overcome is really helpful in facing like current obstacles that I have and being able to remind myself, look, you made it through this, and this, like you can make it through this. Um, I don't want to like end this on the note of it's been a real challenge, because obviously in addition to that, there have been so many great things. And that's true about Turkmenistan too, right? There were a lot of great things about Turkmenistan. I'm glad that I did it. I would do it again. Like if I had to go back and do it again, I would. There have been so many great things about the last 2 years here, from, making friends to accessing a lot of like cultural things that I wouldn't have thought that I could do. I might make some videos that are more specific about some of those things just for the sake of time for this video. But I do want to say that when I look at the fact that I am here in London and I'm able to access so many great museums and art exhibits and performances for free or for very cheap, if you're willing to sit in the nosebleeds, and I am, um, and just, having access to all of this and being able to experience things like proper opera and ballet, and knowing that I came from a dinky town in rural America, population 4,000 at the time I was growing up, it's even less now, and was going to my library and pulling out books, probably outdated books, and flipping through them and looking at pictures of places around the world that I dreamed about going to. And now I'm here in one of them, and I'm living in a metropolitan city, and I'm managing to survive even though I'm just like a rube from the sticks, and I'm able to use it as a hub to access some of those other places that I was looking at and dreaming about as an 8-year old is just really humbling and um amazing. Like I kind of can't believe it. So those are my thoughts on 2 years here. And yeah, I'm just really hoping I can spend more years here and ultimately, get citizenship and split my time the between the US and the UK because I find that I like them both and would like to take advantage of like the best of both worlds, I guess. So, I'll end by saying that, of course, in this second year that I've been here in the UK, I obviously started this channel or really rebooted this channel, and I've really enjoyed brainstorming ideas for videos here. And if you have things that you'd like me to cover, there's some aspect of British culture, or if you're my British audience, the American culture, something to compare the two, or what it's like to be an American abroad, anything like that, drop that in the comments, and I'll take a look at that. But in the meantime, like, subscribe, tell your friends how gnarly this channel is, and I'll see you next time.